Jeanette, I'm very happy to have this moment with you. We are in Prague. We actually just met. We did a talk at the Reactions conference, both talking about the future and how we see it. And I was absolutely amazed when I was listening to you, because you're working in a very interesting field when we are thinking and talking about the future. Can you tell me a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, so I am a research scientist, a research staff member they call me. I work at IBM in the space of materials and polymers. And my personal interest is in sustainability of polymers and materials and trying to develop new chemistries to address issues with pollution that result from plastics and things like that.
Tell me more about that, because I assume that for most people, plastic and sustainability are like two different worlds, and you're like merging these two worlds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think most people, when they think of plastic, they think of it as negative. Pollution, for example, plastic overflowing into our oceans and birds eating it. Those are the types of things that I think people think of when they think of plastics. And so my approach is essentially trying to develop new plastics, either new plastics that have a built-in recyclability. So as chemists, we can make dynamic materials that you basically trigger them with some sort of stimulus, like light, like sound, for example, heat, obviously, and then you can cause it to break apart on cue. And so that's some of the chemistries that we've been developing and looking at. Other versions of things that we've been doing are taking legacy plastics, so plastics that have been used over the past 100 years or so, that are really built to last. Usually takes about 500 to 1,000 years for plastics to decompose.
That's long.
Yes, so they're built to last. And then can we develop catalysts, new catalysts, to be able to take the legacy plastics and then convert them back to starting materials that are useful to use again and build on again. So it's a couple of different approaches, but I think through chemistry and applying the right chemistries, you can make plastics sustainable.
And how far do you think we are, or how far do you are on this path of having sustainable plastic?
So before I saw your talk, I would say, tens of years, decades out. But given how quickly technologies are being brought to the forefront and being brought into industry, I really do think that we'll be seeing changes quite soon, like even within the next 10 years. New types of materials, for example, and new industrial processes to help treat waste that haven't existed before. I think we'll see a lot more of that.
And also I'm very interested to learn more about you working with IBM. When you introduce yourself. For me, IBM was like some kind of IT company, but definitely not into plastics. So how is that possible?
Yeah, so IBM actually has a research division that does R&D, and depending on which area you're in, we do development. Obviously, we're not a chemical company, so we're not making plastics on large scale or anything like that. That's how we partner with people for that part of it. But we've been making our own materials for semiconductors and computer parts over a very long time at this point. So there's a lot of expertise in materials. And one area in particular is when Moore's Law was something that constantly we were miniaturizing devices. Believe it or not, that took a lot of innovations in polymer chemistry to figure out how to make feature sizes as small as possible, so you could get a molecule thick, lines, for example. So that's sort of the idea. And so because of that, I had access to some of the world's experts in polymer chemistry and started being able to think outside the box about what we can do with the sustainability problem.
Very interesting. So as you said, you're not a chemical industry. So how do you see the chemical industry? Are they willing to listen to your ideas, like sustainability? Do they think this is a major issue for the industry? How do you look at them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really encouraged actually by the conversations that I've been having with other types of companies and chemical companies about the future direction for plastics and polymers. So I see a lot of focus on how to make plastics more sustainable kind of throughout the field and throughout the diverse network of people that exist in this area. So I'm encouraged by that. I'm working with a lot of different companies right now, universities, national labs, large groups of people coming together to help solve this very critical issue.
And you mentioned that today this is a major issue. Do you think we can, at one point, clean the past mess? You think we can do it?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be some unique challenges that come with that. So, for example, taking microplastics out of the ocean are usually materials that have degraded over time. They've seen a lot of UV exposure, for example, so they're not even in their pure form. They probably oxidized on the surface somewhat or changed in chemical nature. And so those are going to be really interesting challenges, but there are people who are focused on making technologies that go out and take garbage from the ocean, bring it in, and then figure out what to do with it and make it usable again. And so I think that there's a way to clean up our mess, if you will, but we do need a collection mechanism. We do need to bring it in, and then we can start talking about ways to reuse the materials.
I understand. I have a more personal question. How do you see yourself in 10 years? Where will you live? What are you going to do? How do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's so hard to pinpoint. So I already live on 2 coasts of the United States. I probably will have even a more global residence. I already travel quite a bit, and I think there will be less of like a place that I am personally pinpointed down, and I think I'm just going to continue to live in a global fashion.
My last question is, what kind of advice you would give to a 15 years old boy or girl so he or she can be future ready or future fit? What would be your 3 most important advice?
So one thing I think is to obviously be passionate about what you're doing. If you're passionate about what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life, and it's really true. It always keeps you busy and keeps you on your toes. So be passionate, be knowledgeable. So take the time to really learn and become an expert in the area that you're in, even if it does take time to develop that knowledge, because then you can have true impact. And I think the third thing is to be open to diversity and to diverse groups of people that have differing opinions than you. That is going to be absolutely critical to expand your own perspective and also integrate pieces of them theirs that you find helpful.
Wow, thank you so much. It's been really, really insightful. Is there any place or link or website where if people they want to learn more about your work or what you do?
Yeah, so you can look me up on IBM's, I have a research page there, and so you can look me up as a researcher there, and there will be links to other things as well on that page.
Excellent. Thank you so much again. Please enjoy the rest of your time in
Thank
Prague.
you.
I know you're here for only a very short time, and have a very smooth trip back home.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.